That's right, live on Chicano Tube, live on Chicano Street. Do me a favor, mi beautiful linda raza. Before anything, before we kick this thing off and get into a great conversation right now, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and of course, you got to hit the bell and you got to hit the all button. Yes, we did it. We made it all the way to Wednesday. Gracias to everyone that tapped into the live, coming back from the Bay today. A little bit ocupado para allá, but I couldn't wait to get to tonight. It's going to be a great conversation. I already gave the lineup of this week on what's happening, and I'm already starting to schedule for next week. Of course, we got Norby's coming back to the canal. But do me a favor, though, hit that like and hit that subscribe before we go ahead and bring on the guest into the studio. I appreciate all the day oneers. I appreciate all the Chicano pages. I appreciate you more than you know. All the raza that's on Chicano Tube. Hey, 1 año, 12K, we're getting there. O sea, our voice is being heard. And gracias to all the guests that we've had for the last year. It's just the beginning. Literally, cabrones. We just started this thing, okay? So I appreciate you guys. That's right. Death Row's in the casa. That's where I appreciate you. Solid Bowl 831 is in the house. That's right, cabron. I appreciate you. And Miss Baby Love Substance. That's right, Chicano Tube. Ladies are here live on Chicano Street. Without further ado, because time is very valuable, I'm going to go ahead and bring on an hermano over here and bring him to the studio. And then you guys could go ahead and welcome him with me, of course, from the coveted, from the very well-known, respected, the Brown Beret Coalition, the Califas. I appreciate you, hermano. How are you this evening?
Good evening from Chicago, Illinois. I'm a Brown Beret for 7 years now and counting. Actually, it's in my blood being a Brown Beret. My uncle was a Brown Beret before me back in late 60s, early 70s in the South Chicago neighborhood. And he passed down his beret down to me, and I proudly wear his beret that I'm wearing today, that he wore back in the day in the struggle, Chicago.
Hermano, give me your nombre.
My name is Colonel Anthony Martinez with the Brown Beret National Organization.
Well, mucho gusto. Aquí estoy su sirviente, Mike Diaz, of course. And, you know, here's everyone that's on Chicano Street right here. The majority are Chicanos. The majority. En un año ya llegamos a 12K. Gracias a Dios and gracias to the razas that's listening. And I appreciate you for joining because a lot of people were asking a lot of questions, and I'm sure maybe you can help the raza clarify. There's a lot of information out there. We're in the information age, and I know it's going to be a great conversation. Mi hermano Anthony is here in the house. What I will do, Anthony, also is highlight some comments. I'll put them across the bottom of the screen, and in that way, gente, if anyone has any question at all, any question, do me a favor, put question in caps lock at the beginning of your comment. It just helps the flow of mi ojos yendo over to the pantalla right there with mi hermano Anthony right here. And again, respectfully, I don't want to take too much of your time. Is an hour okay?
Sure.
Perfect. I appreciate it, Anthony. So again, anyone that got any questions, go ahead and put that right in the beginning. Anthony, let me ask you this. As far as the Brown Berets, okay, do they, when you decided to join, do you have to go through any kind of teaching? Do you have to know certain curriculum?
It's all a process. It takes time. Not everything could be learned overnight. A lot of things take years. It takes personal experience of actually being at protests, being at history lessons, of learning from our elders. I'm in touch with our elders, Brown Beret elders that are from Chicago, including my uncle and his friends that were Brown Berets as well. And also in touch with other elders throughout the country and learning their stories, researching history, and just hearing it from them. And it's always good that way because history repeats itself. If you don't learn from it, it's going to repeat itself and it's going to affect us again in the same bad way. They're going to keep holding us down if we don't learn how to get out of it and overcome it.
Okay, absolutely. So as far as say anyone wants to join, maybe this is a popular thing. You never know, you know, with the resurgence of the internet and just connecting everyone so fast. Is it a coalition that people can still join, or do you have to be sponsored in it?
Well, of course, it's a process. Nobody earns a beret right away. Nobody earns their uniform right away. Nobody earns their patch right away. It takes time. You have to show dedication, come to events, learn your history, um, just show up, just put some work in because it's not a costume party. You're not just gonna think it's popular to put a uniform on and do it for the glitz and glamour of it. You gotta put work into it. Like Chicago, I had a comrade from Arizona. He came last year to our Mexican Independence Day parade that we usually were in every year for like 6, 7 years in a row now. We've been in it. And there's elders that see us in the parade say, "Thank you, Brown Berets," that are in their 60s, 70s that remember the original ones in Chicago. And he's like, he couldn't believe it in Chicago. It's so far from the southwestern states that he couldn't believe how many Chicanos are out here. He couldn't believe it. My family's been in Chicago way over 100 years, and I still love my gente. I still love even the people that still just came to this country like yesterday. Don't matter to me. We're all one, even our indigenous people.
That's right. No, I appreciate you, Anthony. Gracias for that. I wanted to refer over to a couple things because I actually did a little. I got a couple questions that people had asked me, and they asked me the Brown Berets. I believe I'm under the impression they were formed under oppression, coming from a
Yeah.
time where there was a lot of social inequality. So, how does that translate over into 2024? Right,
Mm.
currently now, because is it something that's similar but obviously not the same that was going on back then, or what? People had asked me how impacted are Chicanos nowadays with those same issues.
Well, today is a lot easier than what it was before. And we role modeled ourselves after the Black Panther Party back then, and we still in
Okay.
coalition with them. I have pins on me, the Black Panther clubs with Fred Hampton Jr. in Maywood, Illinois. I got to meet him and the widow of Fred Hampton. Also, I went to the 50th anniversary of them, met with their elders as well, and also
Mm.
in touch with the original Young Lords like Jose Chachi Jimenez, which is still living in Chicago when they formed in Chicago. And we just got to stay entwined together. And if not, we're going to be separated like our Chicanos that are for Trump and like the ones with the nopal and like the ones just turn against our own gente because they're light skinned, because they got more money. They think they're better than the rest of us. I'm like, it's just wrong. But we
Let me
got to
ask.
be all together. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, you're fine, hermano Anthony. So let me ask you about what you said, as far as being together and united. The Black Panther Party, you said they're very close hand in hand. Did the movement be similar to the Black Panther Party? Because it came up around the same times, right? So they're considered like hand in hand, that coalition and your coalition.
Yes, any events they do, we're always there to join them and show support to them. And they're always welcome to join our events as well. And we got to show unity. Always have to, because then we're going to have race wars against each other, or they're going to be against us thinking we're taking their jobs, or thinking or saying other ways around. And then now it's basically the same thing with the Venezuelans. Big majority of them have arrived in Chicago, and now the African Americans are really against them because they're thinking they're taking all of their resources from them.
Oh, okay, good. That kind of segues into something that's, well, it's currently happening right now. So there's a lot of different opinions out there. Not everyone is on the same page, but I like to at least have a conversation about it. Let's talk about that because I believe that's something that's happening in your neck of the woods, right? Are you experiencing, let me ask you this, Anthony. You said a community fighting with another community because they're running out of resources. Is that what's going on?
Yes, Chicago is a very segregated city, let me tell you, for many years. The north side is more upper class, rich widows up there, and there's mixed of Asians up there, and there is rich Latinos or Chicano or what they call them now up there, Hispanics. What they want, the term they want to use, call themselves or Chicano, and the richer upper class, the more gentrification up there, where the apartments and houses, everything and food costs way more money than it does on the south side or west sides of the city. The south side more, and south side is way cheaper, and it's actually where we have more polluted factories. We have more places where it's less kept up, dirtier, and the city puts more funding into upper class, richer areas like the north side of Chicago than it does in the south side.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Of course, I tend to tell the raza this, and this is strictly for California, Califas right here, that we're not the minority. We're the
Mm,
majority. And
mm.
once we kind of get that understanding and unite, you know, we'll be powerful. O sea, all the raza united together. Let me ask you this: is it a requirement to be Mexicano to be considered for the process of becoming a brown beret? Oh, I think you froze me. I don't know, froze. Just go ahead and reboot your internet. That's all you got to do, hermano, is reboot the internet. Let me go ahead and move them out then. All right. Boom. It's the same link, hermano. All you got to do is just click on the link back on your IG. So that was another question that I wanted to ask, hermano Anthony. Live on Chicano Tube, live on Chicano Street. Don't forget to hit that like button. We're having an interesting conversation tonight. And of course, tomorrow night, I'm going to go ahead and drop the video with Carlos Montes. I appreciate him there from the beginning. I want to hear his experiences. You damn right. I want to hear his experiences from day one all the way leading up to right now. It was an interesting conversation right now, and Anthony's coming back right now. That's all we got to do is refresh and reboot.
Okay, I'm back. I
Yeah, I know you are,
apologize.
hermano. Let me
Yes,
ask
I
you this.
had.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a text message and I lost it. That's right. Okay, I'm back.
Exactly. Let me ask you this, hermano. I'm going over to in general. I want to ask you a couple things off of like the IG pages, which is the Brown Beret. Okay, IG pages. Okay, there's a couple of hashtags, and I want to ask you one by one, and then see if you can help me kind of clarify or give some substance. That way, the people, the viewers, can understand what each of these plights are, or struggles, or issues, concerns, etc. are. There's a hashtag one that says "Every child matters."
Okay, my opinion on that is that the governing rulers of not just their parents, but the government, but the ones who are in charge of who gets to raise them, who gets to tell them what to do, how to live their lives, what to eat, that their child's lives matter more because they are innocent. That's why every child is innocent born into this world. And that's my opinion on it.
Got it. Duh. Because the way it sounded, I wanted I didn't know if it was alluding to a major issue like at the southern border when it comes to trafficking, or children's rights in general, etc. Which I believe.
Well, it could be a aspect on everyone, in my
Okay, so
opinion.
yeah, it sounds broad. It sounds broad. Every child matters.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
another hashtag I want to ask you about is what is your thoughts as far as this hashtag right here? Or maybe you could explain a little bit. Abolish ICE.
Mm. Well, if you actually look at my name when you get a chance, Anthony Martinez, Brown Beret, Chicago, about 5 years ago, in my former formation, during a community event, we made ice piñata, and the children, the parents were in line, and the children hit it. And there was candy inside, and it got put on national news. And abolish ice. It's just that we're just tired of separating families of the children of families that just want a better life. and that need to get away from where they came from, that they no longer feel welcome, they no longer feel safe there.
And this is a belief that's pretty much streamlined. I'll say a lot of people are is this abolish ICE is a big belief.
Yes. Um, like I said, every neighborhood, every city has different opinions, and we cannot force anything on anyone of how to run their chapter. But it's we strongly believe in this.
Absolutely, I got my own thoughts as far as and I do know, of course, the U.S. Border Patrol has had his black eyes in the past. One of them was
Mhm,
during the Braceros program, right? During the Braceros
mhm.
program,
Right.
and it was cold back in those days. I mean, obviously they were calling them wetbacks, greasers, que they're destitute, and all this other stuff. And then, of course, they ended up immigrating back about a million
Mm.
at a time. So they got their black eyes. But as far as I got an opinion that in order to um, correct what's broken, it's going to take a whole pinchy revamp. O sea, it's like a whole
Mhm.
rebuild from the ground up. And it's hard in American politics even to keep something sturdy because someone comes in a couple years and just undoes everything that you do in day one.
Correct.
I'm just
Correct.
wondering if that's this cat and mouse game that always goes on. But as far as abolish ICE, to me that sounds kind of like defund the police. Is that something
Mhm.
also?
I just think they need to be restructured, and I may get backlash for saying it. I just need, like, even the police, even like they saying is the police were originally slave catchers. That's what they're saying about police were. They're saying about like Texas Rangers, how they were about the Rangers, so what they did, hung migrants, hung the hanging tree. Um, we were hung as well. And yeah, everything needs to be restructured. Everything needs to be stopped on illegal killings of for sports and for in the river. And I seen what they did in the river with the traps, the snipers, and the ranchers killing. That's just messed up what they're doing there.
Is there any documentation that shows that originally they came from slave catchers or
Hmm.
sources or anything?
Like I said, it was just rumors, but that's the same.
Mm, mm,
And
okay.
also, my family art were in that program came over in the 19 the late teens to Chicago. My family were part of that to work in the steel mills.
Oh yeah, because they had a shortage of labor in
Correct.
after the world wars, and so obviously, well, Mexico's ready to go. Mexico's ready to
Hmm.
go. Braceros actually means pues pinche gente que tiene brazos son fuertes los cabrones.
Hmm.
But
Right.
a lot of stories came out that well the conditions were bad. They weren't given what they were promised, and they extended that for a lot of years, almost to, well, not almost, but to the point where they got dependent on Mexican labor, right?
Yes. Even my great grandparents parents lived in a train car in the South Chicago neighborhood. That was the story. My family living in train cars.
And working hard 8 10 hour
Yes.
days, 12-hour
Yes.
days, obviously for the minimum. Now a lot of that is still happening today, right? A lot of the raza.
Or even under the minimum. I remember
Under.
even myself, I worked for under minimum wage at one time because I was almost homeless, so I had no choice to one time.
And a lot of people would say nowadays, in modern day times, it looks like the raza is still doing
Yes.
jobs that other people wouldn't do for lesser
Correct.
wages.
Correct.
That's going on still today. Let me ask
Yes.
you this: I seen that you had that something was said on the Brown Berets IGs as far as Gaza. This is going over to the Middle East now. I want to ask your opinion on the Middle East. I have my thought. I'm a Christian, devout
Mhm.
Christian, not perfect at all, far from it, ¿verdad? But I'm a Christian, so I'm kind of like what you consider a Protestant, not a Catholic, like my parents, who even though I never went to church, but they were born in Mexico, so
Mm.
Catholic is what we were, right, by birth
Right,
and
right.
bautismo and baby bautismo and confession. I'm a Christian. Um, about the Middle East. I seen in a lot of brown beret pages. I'm not gonna name them, but in general, that they're picketing and they put a lot of signs that say "Raza for Gaza," and that's
Mhm.
Gaza. I've been open on my channel on my thoughts because I'm a Christian, which is just it's been happening for a very long time. Can you give me what this whole push is, the Raza for Gaza?
Well, I believe there's of taking over the land that belongs to them. It's the same thing that happened to us. Like the southwestern states, the land was taken from us. The land is taken from them. The children are innocent. From the river to the sea, we all will be free. And also, no matter religions, it's just a matter of safety. It's a matter of doing the right thing. And like as a brown beret in Chicago or other places, other members are welcomed by every state, every religion. We're the cross in our original patch, of course, for Christianity, Catholicism. I was born a Catholic. I am now respect all religions. I was even invited by the Nation of Islam to see Minister Louis Farrakhan speak, so I went. I have friends in the Nation of Islam. I have friends that are Christians. I have friends that are rabbi. I have friends in different religions. So we are open to all religions. We respect everyone.
And primarily the members though are Chicano, and would you agree Chicanos are of Mexican bloodline and but are born in the U.S.? Is that pretty much a general definition?
Yes, in my opinion, yes.
A lot of
Even
people argue
though,
that. They argue that no, que Argentinos, que no, there's Chicanos in Japan, and
mm,
I argue with people. I don't argue with people. I set them straight because I say facts are facts. Once you live the experience, you
right,
can't.
right.
You just know it. So, would you agree with that though?
Well, now today everything is so open. Everything like at the moment I'll be 45 in 2 months, but the way I was raised by my grandparents, so I'm a little old school. But things change over time. Things open up. It depends on the organization of the Brown Berets. It depends who's running it. It depends, and
Let's
that's
just
how
say
they want to.
let's
Right.
just say from the inception of the berets, it was pretty much common that it
Yes.
was a Mexican American.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to ask you that. I appreciate you guys. There's a question right here. Is there a limit on how many people are able to join the Brown Berets? Is there a membership? Is there a limit?
No, of course not. We have ranks in certain organization. The BBNO, we have ranks. I'm a colonel at the moment because of years of dedication and things I did within the organization. Captain, other soldier, of course, and it just depends your ability of what you could do, of what you're good at, where you're going to get put at and to do. Um, Also, when
So
flag bearers, go ahead.
so it's a military, and I don't mean you're interrupting. I'm trying to crunch as much as I can in this hour. Dispensa
Okay,
carnal.
no
We got
problem.
Anthony from the Brown Berets, mi hermano Anthony Martinez from the Brown Berets, setting the record straight, given the mentality, the philosophy, their plight, the struggle, and everything. La lucha vive. Let me ask you this. With with the organization itself, okay, is it like there's one in charge of the whole thing, and is it only in the 50 states, or is it in other continents? Is that the way it works, or is it all over the world? First, let's establish that, or is it just in the US?
Well, I cannot speak for other organizations with different patches in the Brown Beret movement, but I know I heard that we did that other ones have in Canada and Mexico, and there are Chicanos. They are of Mexican descent.
Okay, so the Brown Berets are at least on this continent.
Yes,
As far as
correct.
far that's all. As far as you know, of course, I'm not asking you for official, official palabras, official words. As far as you know, these things. Okay, got it. So they're at least on this continent. Okay, got it. Um, Let me ask you. Oh, I actually wanted to go back to the Raza for Gaza. One more thing. You had
Okay.
said that a lot of that is a holy war that they are fighting because they want possession of the Holy Land. In your opinion, is it the first people that were on the Holy Land that it belongs to, or is it the people that were there the longest? Because in the Christian Bible, in the Holy Bible, it said that the God of Israel gave it to Israel.
Mm,
And so, if He gave it, is there really a fight for the claim? But then other people will be like, okay, well, that's just, I understand the Christian Bible, which I believe with all my heart. But
correct.
some other people will be like, okay, that's just the Christian Bible, etc. How do you see it? Do you see it from a Christian worldview?
Hmm. No, I'll tell you the truth. I just see it from a fairness view. I just want things to be fair. I just want the killing to be stopped. I just want the innocent children to live. That's just how I see it, but and I
Okay.
don't, like I said, I don't want to be one sided, one religious sided. That's why I'm friends and in unity with all religions, because that's the only way I feel, because we cannot discriminate. We cannot be one sided.
I see what you're saying. So, and I get it without saying too much. I actually get what you're saying, and I think the people too. Right here in the comment section, you got a lot of critical thinkers over here. So yes, it's not. You're not gonna be like, I'm gonna stamp my flag with this religion or really
Hmm.
introduce it, because what the brown berets, or no, what you saying is that you're trying to be more all inclusive. What's fair is fair, and what's right is right.
Correct. Even
Aside
though,
aside what the religion aspect of it.
right, even though we do wear the cross on our patch, and it's the original patch, so it was passed down,
Mhm.
the beret and
No,
the patch, and so I'm probably weird from it's
yeah.
my
A
blood.
lot. Of course, the tattoo, the one that has the cross and with the little what is it called? The little
The dots on there,
not dots, but they're like little lines that are like glory lines, like whoosh.
something. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I was gonna say lo mismo, lo mismo. I was just bored in juvenile hall picking it, but I seen it in movies and a lot of people. So you would say that the original brown berets, or sea, they were cristianos?
Mm, yeah, polycalyx Christian, yes. Roman
Okay.
Catholic. See, I have a little. If you could kind of see it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that
and
that looks like more like a
Timmy.
highlight, like a calligraphy highlight.
Right. No, when you've seen the big T one, there, I do actually have the.
Simon,
This,
Simon.
yeah.
So it's in the
Okay.
original patch, the one that you have on Ayentu on your beret.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Gracias. La causa.
Yeah, with the cross rifles and the beret on the top, La Causa.
All right, hermano Anthony, I got to ask you about that. Then I thought I saw one other comment over here, and it said, "Then what is la causa for the coalition?"
Well, in English, it means, of course, the cause, and the cause just helping one each other, just uplifting each other to serve, observe, protect the motto. We're serving the people. We're always watching what's going on, and we protect our people, help them in need when they need it. It's always good, in my opinion, to learn self defense to protect yourself and others. And I know there are organizations that believe in the right of bearing arms and guns and rifles, things like that. And me personally, I'm not really keen on that, but I believe more in self defense, and that's what I learned and did in my life.
Yeah, probably because you know that secret stuff that one hit you in the Adam's apple, algo, and drop the cabron in one pegada. Hey, real quick, I want to ask you also this. I'm again, we're about halfway through this, you guys. Keep dropping your great questions. Did you hear about? And I'm sure maybe you did. Did you hear about the story of the Justice Eight? The story of the
Um,
justice, which is Alex Enamorado, and
oh, in
he
Colorado.
Enamorado and Alex Enamorado, the Justice Eight. This was a group that got arrested for ended up picketing. They protected street vendors in California and
Okay.
up there in the Victorville area. A lot of
Mm.
people are calling him a political prisoner. Have you ever heard of the story? If not, we won't even touch it because luego no vas a saber. You didn't hear about it? It's on
I
social
think
media.
I know. I think I know. SD, a beret with the brown beret organization. She was arrested. A brown beret was arrested. Correct.
That's correct. In the group with Esty. The
Yes.
same group. Okay, got it. So they were responding to the scenes when street vendors were getting attacked. And they ended up pressing charges on them and arresting them and charging them because they of course they have video that they were picketing in the middle of the night. They would protest oftentimes right in
Mm,
on the mayor's house,
mm.
and do things which, I mean, if you just agitate the police enough, I mean, they'll just throw a charge on you maybe and throw you in la cárcel, ¿verdad? A lot of people call him a political prisoner. Do you think all of them that got arrested were political prisoners because they wanted him off the streets?
My opinion, yeah, because you know what, they did not commit any violence, and provoking police, nobody touched them, nobody hurt them, and it's just wrong. It's just you have the right to protest, the right of free, the right of free speech, and so I don't think it's just wrong that they did get arrested. Arrested, yeah. You could say they were provoked. How were they provoked? They weren't touched. They weren't harmed.
So part of the charges is they do have some video where they end up putting someone on their knees. They do end up swinging. So there was altercations, of course. You know, when your
Self.
heart's pumping and adrenaline's pumping,
Well, yes. In my opinion, self defense. It's just automatic. It's a reaction. Like if somebody touches me, of course I'm gonna flip them. I'm just. It's just automatic. Where like
and
I
then
feel somebody behind. Go ahead.
there were in parking lots. There was cars involved. There was enough to build the case. People are calling him a political prisoner right now. Do you believe in the current day justice system that if they wanted to get you off the street, they'll throw you in the slammer and trump up charges on you?
No, because I know you. California did get rid of the three-strike rule. Correct.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's good because other states I know, like I live on the border of Illinois, Indiana. In the state of Indiana, you get arrested for public intoxication just for walking drunk. And
Mm.
other places, different rules, different laws. It's just messed up. Where the United States, yeah, it's it's a great country, but every state, every area is differently. So I'm not too familiarized with the California laws.
Okay. Okay. As far as the Braves go, do the Braves respond? Say if there is an incident, like what if there is a street vendor? What if there is someone that's raza that's in need? Is that how that works too? Are they there to protect and serve? I don't know, for lack of better words, to the raza, the community.
Yes. Um,
How does
Within a
that
year
work?
ago,
How does anyone put up the bat signal, or how does that work?
well, we just happen to see it through social media, or somebody, or they happen to contact us. A young autistic guy, and is about 30 years old, was killed, shot, robbed. That was just selling things outside the corner of his cousin's house for extra money, and the police didn't do nothing about it. Oh, Helen, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. And so we made flyers. We helped the family out. We went door to door, and we got put on the news. And they did a recap, and with the family, we did a conference, and we actually made the police put out a new flyer and put it on the news of the vehicle that was they were looking for, the color and everything to make it model, because we pressured them to do it.
I got you. Amiga, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, I appreciate you for joining the live. My name is Mike. Of course, you know Anthony right here. We're live on Chicano Tube and live on Chicano Street. Amiga, can you introduce yourself?
Hi. So I go by Tina Marie in the community. I'm from Cali. I am one of the Braves that are part of the Brown Berets de Califas Coalition. I am from BBOC, though, which is Brown Berets de Semanawak, and they are a national organization. We still have active chapters in Texas, all the way through California, and we're just working and networking with different beret groups all from all over the nation, just to cause that ripple of change, right, that we need in our community. So nice to see you, Anthony. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope
You too.
everything's well on your end.
Mi amiga Tina Marie's in the casa. We got Anthony, and then we got Tina Marie. Tina, let me go back to this question because maybe you know a little bit more. I wanted to get your opinion. Did you hear me speak about the Justice 8? Can I get your opinion on the Justice 8?
I'm not too familiar with everyone involved in the Justice 8. I know they still have the brother in custody that was holding political representatives accountable, right, that have been elected officials in certain areas for certain forms of abuse towards community members, right, and abusing their positions of power, their connections to local law enforcement, which we've kind of all seen. I know the brother's previous social media had been taken down, and I know he's still fighting for his freedom right now. And I would definitely say, yes, that Eden is a political prisoner.
Okay, gotcha. I appreciate you. Can I ask you also what you have wearing right there, the ceasefire now? Could you let the raza on Chicano Street? Could you let us know what does that represent? Okay, got it. Can you give me Tina, your thoughts, respectfully, on the Middle East and what's going on over there?
Oh, absolutely. So what we're seeing right now is colonialism in real time. So we're seeing the trauma, the violence that has been imposed upon our own communities. We're seeing it right before our eyes. So the slaughter of babies, the torture of women, the sexual assault, right? Just even of our brothers, the killing of elders, the massacre of their animals, of their land, their olive trees, just everything that makes them who they are as Palestinians. They're completely trying to exterminate it, as they've said in their own words, right? And we've seen this even here in the US. So we could look at the International Law of Colonialism, the Manifest Destiny, and Doctrine of Discovery. How do they classify indigenous people? Right? They classify indigenous folks as savages, right? As heathens. And they use the Bible to attempt to exterminate indigenous people here and attempt to clear the land. And so what we're seeing is Israel do that over there in Palestine. So, hey, free Palestine, man, free Gaza. And I'm gonna stand on that.
I'm gonna ask both of you guys this.
Children.
That's right, Tina Marie. I appreciate that. I'm gonna ask both. Hey, yeah, that's right, amiga. You got energy, amiga. You got energy. That's right. Bring the energy. I'm with you, amiga. I wanted to ask both of you guys this. There's this statement, there's this opinion that, what do you believe that, as far as that, the Mexicanos, we're our own worst enemy and we're quicker to go to bat for another raza than we're quicker to go to bat for ourselves. Do you think that's true, or is that not true?
Anthony, you want to go first?
Okay, you said you would. Oh, well, like I was explaining to him earlier, in Chicago, like I was saying, the separation of the richer, the poor, of the lighter skin, the darker skin, and I think their beliefs of, and then they're hinted at Chicanos, they're pro-Trump, against migrants, against, they turn their back on their own gente, and it's like those are the ones that, in my opinion, are saying that because they're saying that we would rather support other countries, like say the Palestinians, over them, because in my opinion they just think that they want, if we're not for them, we're against them. Even though we're our own same gente, that's just my opinion of why they would say something like that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it seems that, if someone, I've seen this also, something in the community happens to someone as a member that's part of the raza, and then the raza, they don't really rally around it, but a lot of raza were saying, but when it came to a movement that didn't have to do anything with the raza, that we would jump out there and be more supportive. I guess I've seen both sides of those opinions. I just wanted to ask both of you guys on that. Mi amiga Tina Marie, because you just joined on, I'm going to ask you this. What do you think are the biggest issues that are happening in 2024 that Chicanas need to be aware of?
Could I answer your first question though? That
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so I would have to kind of piggyback on what the brother said. I feel that that narrative is a tactic, like a colonial tactic of divide and conquer, right? And so we do have folks within our own communities that are still suffering from generational historical trauma and don't know that they don't know that they don't know, right? So they don't realize that they are operating still through a colonized lens because that's what they've been brainwashed and socially conditioned to think and to say. So folks that have those opinions, like even the word immigrant, how are you an immigrant on your own homelands? Right. And then even the discussions about law. Oh, well, these folks are violating X, Y, and Z. Well, international law and treaty law supersede all US state and federal law. Right. And just even with the treaties, like if you take the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, for example, folks are supposed to be able to be equally protected under the law, right? Supposedly under the US law, folks should be able to migrate, right? Not immigrate, but migrate, right? And these are the First Nations peoples of this land. So if you are from Mexico, you are on your own homelands. Even if you're on this side of the quote unquote border, this socially constructed human-made border, it's a colonial border. And so when we have these conversations with folks, sometimes it can get challenging because it comes from a background of folks that are very uninformed and they take what the government tells you as literal truth, even though we've seen over and over again, century after century, generation after generation, this government does what it wants. It speaks with a forked tongue, right? And it's constantly changing the laws to benefit the system and just even the framework of the system itself. It's built off of fascism. So when I do hear folks say that, and I have encountered even the Latinos for Trump crew, it's very disheartening to see folks doing that because we should be supporting our community and our people, right? Not the colonizer and not the system oppressing us. So I did want to just add to that conversation. And the second question, can you repeat it again?
No, absolutely no. I appreciate you. What are the biggest modern day issues? Because the beret movement started in a time of oppression, right? It birthed out of that. But what are the modern day issues for Chicanos that we need to be looking out for?
So I'd say those issues are still prevalent and have not gone away. We are currently facing another possible draft of our children being stolen from us, right? And sent overseas to fight a genocide, not to fight a genocide, but to aid in a genocide that our government is funding and financing. We have nothing to do with that. Those children did absolutely nothing to our communities, right? Every child should be protected. So our children should not turn around and be drafted into a war that has absolutely nothing to do with us. So I would say that issue, it's still prevalent now. We still have our sisters being sterilized without their knowledge and consent in ICE detention camps. We had an African-American sister come forward as a whistleblower a few years ago. I believe was a nurse in one of the facilities, and she let the public know, hey, these women are being sterilized still. This isn't something that was going on in the 60s and 70s and just dissipated and ceased to exist. This is happening now. So that issue is still happening now. We still have our children that are being kidnapped and trafficked in the system. So if you look back at the residential school system, right, I believe they've unearthed over 10,000 bodies at this point, if I'm not mistaken. And that's only 11 schools out of 39. And what we're concerned with now is the amount of children that have been funneled into the ICE prison industrial complex. According to both the last presidential terms, I believe the Republican camp and the Democrat camp, both combined, they've misplaced and lost over 100,000 kids. How do you lose that many children? These are not socks in your dryer that, oh, we just don't know where they're at. These are living human beings, and most of these children are indigenous children that should be protected under treaty law and international law, and they're not. And this is still happening now. I was able to tour a facility here in Northern California just 6 years ago. And so this is not even
Mm.
something that's at the border. These kids are in
Mm.
our communities, they're in our counties. A lot of the juvenile halls have contracts. So if you want to call your local juvenile hall and ask, do you have an ORR contract? That means that you have undocumented children in those facilities. And the facility I went into, these kids were on a 23-hour lockdown. Okay. 23-hour lockdown. You only have one hour of yard time. That's literally a shoe program that you're running for kids. And most of these kids don't even speak Spanish. That was another concern of mine, because when I sat with the administrators and I asked, why are you labeling these kids, calling them MS-13 gang members and putting that on their jacket? And now they get funneled through the system, right? Which can jeopardize their own safety and their own livelihood in their life, right? I had a European immigrant woman tell me, oh, well, they told me that they are gang members. How are they telling you they're gang members? You don't have translators for these kids. They don't speak Spanish. Spanish is not their first language.
Mm.
There's many communities in Mexico, Central and South America that have retained their indigenous languages.
And Anthony,
Just in Mexico, there's over, I believe, 364 recognized indigenous languages. So when you have folks on this side of the quote unquote border that are incarcerating these children saying, oh, well, they told me, but yet you cannot even speak their language. How are they telling you that? That's systematic violence. That is genocide. You're intentionally trying to bring harm to children, right? So I don't see that there has been any progress from back in the day to now contemporary times. It's only violence in modified forms. That's what I see. We still see the police brutality. We still see the militarized, the military industrial complex, right? We still see undocumented women being raped in our fields here. I mean, we see these layers of violence that have not gone away. Do we have the privilege to analyze it? Yes. Right? I'm a citizen. I'm mixed. I speak English. So I'm aware of my privilege. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do with your privilege now to change the system and try to be an advocate for your people and create a better future for our children? We have to constantly think 7 generations ahead. And a lot of folks are not doing that. They don't want to compromise their privilege. Right? And it's one of those things. But
oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And
that's
Anthony, where you're from, Anthony, Illinois, you have one president. Again, no president's perfect. The system has been broken for decades and decades. But you had one president that they called the deporter in chief. They said there's no other, and it was, and 2/3 of the deportations were the civil crime. It was a civil crime, which is basically, pues, no tienen papeles. I believe if they wanted to allocate money to that and get the manpower and get I mean, you could fix a problem, but it seems like they want the razas vote every 4 years. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't want to get into politics because we might differ on that, and it's fine. We could, talk about it like grown men and women. But do you believe that it's the U.S. politics are pandering to us every single 4 years?
Of course, and I just tired of the two-party system, and of course, they say it's a lesser of the two evils, and not all the time, not all the damn time. And shoot, I just want to piggyback on what Tina was saying quickly. Sorry, I had to get it in there that we do have poly. The last that I know was like 2 years ago. I checked. We had good 12 places where we have the migrant children and kept in Chicago and in Catholic or other places, churches, old schools, and they've been kept here as well. The Heartland Alliance is holding them as well in Chicago, and we protested them. And keep fighting to get them released. And back to your question. I'm sorry, I had to get that out because it needs to be known that they are in Chicago as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me ask both of you guys this. What were your thoughts on, we just passed Monday, and Monday obviously in the US it's 2 holidays. They just put a slash, a Columbus / Indigenous Peoples Day. You saw all the memes that were circulating on the internet. Do you believe we should just totally, the US as a federal government should just do away with the whole Columbus thing?
You mind, Tina? Well, I actually was put on the news for getting the Columbus statue taken down in Chicago, on the south side in South Chicago neighborhood where the original Brown Berets in Chicago they were located, and they had basically live with it, the original Brown, and they were brainwashed to accept it. The original Brown Berets. There was one actually was mad that hey, you know what, this is wrong, okay? And it's like some were just so brainwashed and taught that it's our icon. It's like it's something beautiful in our neighborhood to be here. You gotta take. I'm like, you gotta think of your indigenous your of what they did to your ancestors. Oh, you gotta wake them up. Something. It's like sometimes the old saying, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but it's like. But other ones, they respected what I did. They respected, in the newer generation, every generation, we're waking up more and more to realize it. And yes, we still have, believe it or not, we still have a damn Columbus Day parade in Chicago. I'm so pissed.
Well, I mean, it's the United States, cabron. I mean, no matter what, they're still going to cut the turkey. They're still every year, no matter what the people. But Tina Marie, what do you think about Columbus? Does he represent atrocities? Does he represent something that people need to put in the past forever and never remember? Or
so Columbus, based on his own words, right? Because his journal has now been published for anybody that wants to read it. He brags about raping 9-year-old little girls and training her so well that she sounded like she came out of a school for whores. If that's what the system wants to uplift, I'm not surprised, because this entire system was designed by rapists, murderers, thieves, and pedophiles. And to go off what you said, brother, you said the system is broken. I would have to disagree. This system is producing the outcomes as it was intended to do. That's just the reality of it. If you want to read the International Law of Colonialism, I suggest folks read that. So instead of us just having opinions on the system, you can actually read the framework and see what the quote unquote founders, what they were establishing. And then you can understand why we live the way we do, why the system is rooted in violence, because that's just what it is. And I think voting is a way to keep people complacent, kind of past the voting, right? Because even with this current election, it's either passive fascism or blatant fascism. I would say no fascism. You want change, direct actions and boycotts, right? But everybody's gonna do what speaks to their spirit. So you might have folks that feel, hey, my vote counts. I've learned over and over, your votes don't count. They put in office who they want to be there. The system is structured the way it is because that's what the elites want, right? So that's kind of the reality of the way I see.
Friends help friends is a system we're pretty much in. Is friend help friends. Do you guys have any thoughts? Gracias for the super chat, P Dog. I appreciate you. Do you guys have any thoughts on a Chicano studies book called Occupied America?
I haven't.
Rodolfo Acuña. Okay. And then another super chat. Gracias a Salinas OG. I appreciate you. If immigrants have gang tattoos, detain them regardless of age. I don't want them in my community. Si van a venir, que trabajen, no vengan de pendejos. Okay, that's just a general statement. It's a general statement, but what are your thoughts? What thoughts come to mind when you hear it? That's the conversation we're having.
They're in a new land. Yeah, maybe they were taught one thing and backed up by where they were, who they were with, and trained one way. And maybe their mindset could be set one way, but they're in a different area. They need to adjust to where they are now or fight for what's right for them as well.
So you don't believe in vetting anybody coming across? Should it just be completely open, no kind of system? Is that a perfect world for you?
That's another thing too.
Or is there a balance and somehow people have to get processed and let's put two and
Mm,
two together y no se puede ser because they do gaslight certain incidents. But like mi
mm,
amiga Tina Marie was saying, who's a migrant? I recently had Kiawi on the channel, and he likes to refer to Caucasians as European Americans, and I'm like, pues cabrón, you refer to them as European Americans, se van a,
uh,
how are they gonna look at you, right? But what do you think about that?
But that's what they
you know,
are.
So
yes.
who's
Why
the
is
main?
everybody? Why is every other group Asian American, African American, Mexican American? But then
Mm.
you can't use the word European American. That just sounds ludicrous. Why? That makes no
Right.
sense. They are not the original inhabitants of this land. This is a brown continent. It has and it always will be. Those are the natural inhabitants of this land.
No, I got Wayward Son. He's coming on Dia de Muertos. Shout out to you, mi hermano. He's on TikTok, Wayward Son 360. Channel blew up, 150K. He comes on here and speaks a lot of controversial things. He recently, I just uploaded a clip to let people preview. He's coming on 11/1, Dia de Muertos. We're going to talk about Dia de Muertos. He recently did a clip where he said Christopher Columbus they used to cut off people's hands, tie them around their necks when they didn't meet a quota, and also fed babies over to los perros. Are those the kind of atrocities that did happen? And if they did, a lot of people commented under that video I uploaded on my IG. They said, where is the sources? Where is the proof? What do you guys think about that?
The proof is in his literal statements. This man wrote about this. He glorified himself, and then his own crew ended up reporting him. You know, Columbus ended up going to jail for a while because he reported back to the crown, like, hey, he's doing all these atrocities, and he was jailed for a short time. He ended up being released, but this isn't a matter of guessing. They literally wrote about this. So it's basically under their own admittance that they've admitted their own guilt. And, you know, I stand in solidarity with the Taino people, right? Puerto Ricans, the Arawaks, all day. They were the ones brutalized by Columbus. And a lot of folks have even said instead of Indigenous People Day, they would like it to be a remembrance of the Tainos because they were the relatives that were massacred, you know, during Columbus's quote unquote voyages. And, you know, there's so much documentation that shows the Chinese were here, you know, hundreds of years prior to European contact. There was a brother from West Africa, a king who migrated here and established a community in Brazil. So America itself, what we call America, North, Central, South America, they knew about this place. Tenochtitlan was built on water. It was larger than any empire in Europe at the time, feeding over 500,000 people a day, I believe. So it's one of those things where this wasn't a new world that people didn't know about. They knew about the resources here. They knew about the wealth, right? They knew where they could go and could not go. And my understanding is that's why Columbus chose the island he chose, because he went to people that were very peaceful and passive. Because if he would have went to one of the other different islands, the outcome would have been completely different.
Correct. And just piggyback on it, yeah, Southern Illinois has big mounds of our indigenous people. Cahokia is what they call it. And also north of Chicago and southern Wisconsin has more mounds of their indigenous people from being here thousands of years. And yeah, we were here so many thousands of years way before.
That's right. After feelings, he says, what's wrong with European Americans, Mikey? I didn't say nothing's wrong with it. I just said, cabrón, you call them that, they might slam you on the hood of the car and slap handcuffs on you y te avientan en el carro and you're in the county jail. No, I didn't say nothing's wrong with it. Kiawi came on respectfully. He's from the Mexica tribe. Go back maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We did 2 lives already together. But Wayward Son is coming on. He mentioned exactly what Hermana Tina Marie mentioned right there. He mentioned the Tainos. And he said that it was their babies, the ones that were getting fed. People just say atrocities, but then there's people that also say, you know, well, we know this. The history was pretty much given to us, right? Like instead of a massacre, they're going to call it a voyage, right? Or he's a great explorer, but we know that. Let me also ask you about this. Indigenous roots, right? Indigenous roots. To me, the way I've seen on the internet, part of a lot of the movement of the Berets identified with the Azteca tribe. Azteca tribe, is that can you explain that a little bit more? Is that because of the movement's bloodline is from the Azteca tribe, or is it because the Azteca tribe was just, it seems to be one of the most popular tribes that gets a lot of the attention? People wanted me to ask you or you guys respectfully about the Azteca, Aslan, that being part
Mhm.
of the movement. How does that tie? Because I know we have indigenous blood in us, but how does that tie in?
Well, I would say for my own experience, we have a lot of members that are not Mexica. So you
Mhm.
have folks that are from Oaxaca, or like my mom's family is from Jalisco, right? Where we Arica, Huichol. We have members, Purepacha, who were never conquered by the Mexica, first of all, right? Those are warriors as well. And the Purepacha, their story isn't as well known, but Mexica, the Aztecs, attempted to take over their homelands more than one time, and it never happened, right? So we have so many different indigenous origins throughout. If you just take Mexico, right? So we'll call it Southern Mexico because this is still Mexico up north, right? So there's just so many. There's so many, but it's very Aztec centric. I will agree with that. And my perspective is, I believe that narrative is kind of pushed on folks up here in the States. It's more, I feel, another conquer and divide tactic instead of just giving folks their own autonomy and their own space, right? And their own indigenous experience, because not everybody is of Aztec or Mexica origin. And I feel that's kind of a misconception just to say that every
Mhm.
person that's of Mexican ancestry or that's Chicano, Chicana, Chicanx is mixed with European blood. Some are and some are not. There's a lot of folks that are still very, very, very indigenous that do not have the colonizer's blood in them. So that's another misconception.
Yeah, that's true. Like mi hermano Kiawi, shout out to you. That's been on the channel already twice. He's pretty much traced the bloodline, and it's a great interview. No, I appreciate you for saying that. So, how much should Chicanos identify more with their indigenous roots, or should Chicanos identify more with their Spanish roots, or should it be a balance? What do you think?
Well, Spanish roots is like we tend not to glorify them because of what they did originally to our ancestors that were here. So even though I did hear from my father's that my grandfather actually went to Spain, got swords from Spain. I'm like, oh, I roll my eyes. I'm like, God, I just hate her. I'm like, but damn, I'm not proud of that the family is from there. I don't glorify it. Not happy about it, but it is what it is. But yet, I do feel that we do need to reconnect with Mother Nature and with our true ancestors from this land.
Okay, because that is the blood that's flowing through our veins. Mi amiga Tina Marie, mi hermana Tina Marie, she said Jalisco. My mother's from Jalisco, and she was güera with green eyes,
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather was as white as a ghost. But my grandmother, my mother's mother, she was in very indigenous, long trenzas, mantel, 100% prieta. You could tell the indigenous was there. Mi amiga Tina Marie, what do you think about that? Should Chicanos identify more with their indigenous root? Should we have some kind of shame that we have Spanish blood flowing through us?
Well, as I said, not every Chicana, Chicano, Chicanx person or family has European blood in their bloodlines.
Mm.
That's another misconception, right? But for folks that are mixed, I think it is good to learn about your family's heritage, right? And I would have to say what Anthony said, though, connecting to the earth. That's where your healing is going to begin, right? It's how you're going to learn more of yourself, more of your ancestry. Just part of that decolonization process because they vilified even practicing your own natural medicine, right? Just through the colonial process. So I'd say that's up to the individual person I do feel it's very important though to learn your roots and learn your indigenous roots and to decolonize, because I mean that can even come down to your food. I mean, what do we eat? Whose food are you eating? You know, pigs and cows weren't here, and
Mm.
yet folks eat a lot, you know, pigs, cows, and dairy, which is also linked to a lot of disease. We have high cholesterol, diabetes, cancer that are all stem from eating these types of animals. And they say if you want to heal yourself, you need to eat as your ancestors did. You shouldn't be eating the food that your colonizer has imposed upon you. And that's just one form of colonization. It's through the food, right? Also, your prayer. All prayer is beautiful, but whose prayer are you following? Are you praying the, you know, the religion that was beaten and raped into your bloodline, or are you praying how your ancestors prayed? You know, how are you living your life? How are you carrying yourself? Are you operating with a colonial mindset, or are you operating from a space of being a human being, right? And just being reconnecting to humanity. So there's variations to that. I feel like a lot of folks have to do their inner work. I do as well, right? That's an everyday process, but there definitely is a process of unlearning and decolonizing, and that takes work, and it could be very uncomfortable, but there's a lot of beautiful healing that comes from it.
Yeah,
So I encourage everyone to do that.
including
So
medicine. Oh, sorry, including medicine, like the prescription, the medicine.
Mhm.
Everything has side effects today. The pills they given us, the medication, the stuff they put in our veins, and we need to learn from Mother Nature, trees, plants, herbs, different, and it's natural. It's meant to cure us. It's meant to heal us.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. Let me ask both of you this. I'll ask Anthony first. Is colonization still happening now in 2024?
Of course, of course,
And can you name some
and
examples?
just what to how to look at people, what to believe in. Of our past, like Columbus. Like people more and more over the years are realizing about Columbus. It takes time. It to get it out of us. It take of the future generations of so many examples of just history of the slave trade of different things of our Chicanos, how we were treated, of our Chicano history. Our hint is starting to learn it more and more. It's starting to expand. We're starting to wake up more. It takes time, and it hurts when our own hint that goes against us. But that's what I mean too, right there. Go ahead.
And Hermana Tina Marie, is colonization still happening now, and in what forms?
Oh, yes. I mean, you could see it at the school level if you want to start just there at a baseline, the educational system. They teach you a Eurocentric education and they romanticize genocide. They romanticize theft, murder, rape, and pedophilia. It's literally in the textbooks. I would also say in the law system, in the legal system, look whose laws control us and dictate our everyday lives, right? Colonial systems. This is still active colonization. The US is still spreading. You see Puerto Rico still fighting for its independence. They want to keep their sovereignty. You see Hawaii and our other brothers and sisters and our relatives out in the Pacific Islands. It stretches as far now, I think, to Guam and Samoa.
Philippines.
They're trying to colonize over there. So yes, colonization, it's alive and well, and it's supposedly it's illegal under international law, but just the fact that the US still exists, this is a colonial settler project. So as long as the US exists, yes, colonization does exist, and Israel is only an extension of the United States.
No, I appreciate you. You know what? This is going to be, and gracias to everyone that's in the comment section. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get all your chats. I only have one more question. We already went over the promised hour that I told
Yeah.
Anthony, but we got the brown berets that are right here, and La Lucha Sigue. They've given great points. This could be the beginning of many more interviews. We never know. Live on Chicano Street, like mi hermana Tina Marie just said, that Anthony said, there's a hunger for Chicanismo. There's a hunger for people to learn the history. And I know it to be true. I mean, I've only been here 1 year. We got 12,000 subscribers on Chicano Tube. So the Raza is listening in. The last question of the night to both of you, respectfully. Anthony, I'll ask you first, or Tina Marie wants to take it first. How are we still oppressed in 2020, and how are we oppressed?
How are we oppressed? And say
Chicanos,
it
and I'm
again.
talking about the Chicanos. Yes, are we oppressed now in 2020? Like at the beginning of the movement, it seemed like the movement was birthed out of oppression and injustices. But it's 2024 now. Let's fast forward it. There's been progress, but again, that's just the lenses of to each his own. But are we still oppressed as Chicanos now? And if we are, what are some examples that we're oppressed?
Well, in my opinion, yes, we are still oppressed. I'm thinking depending on who's in charge of schools, who's in charge of the police, who's in charge of a mayor or your governor. It depends where you're living. Depends if you want to be open minded, if you want to open your mind and be woken to learn and speak up for yourself, self defense. You need to stand up for yourself because if you don't, closed mouths don't get fed. The old single. You need to learn how to defend yourself. You need how to learn the laws, even though they're meant to be against us, but yet we could use them in ways to come together to defend and help each other out against being held down even more and getting better rights for our own selves because of course they're meant to hold us back.
So you believe it's socially, economically, and these different.
Educational and everything.
That's pretty much everything from the beginning. So you're pretty much saying there's been no progress. I mean,
Yeah, in a ways, college wise, and we are still being held back. It depends, like I said, it depends who's in charge, who's judging to get in. There's age limits. There's ethnicity limits. We can only have so many of this race. We only can have so many of male or female we're still being judged. There's a minority gaps. There's women gaps. They're still holding us back.
Hermana Tina Marie, I'm going to ask you the same question. Is oppression happening, and are we oppressed? And I saw a comment right now saying, if you think you're oppressed, it's a victim mentality. I don't know if that's another question. I'm not trying to keep this going
Right,
on and on, but we could talk about this. Hermana Tina Marie, what do you think about that?
Well, I would have to respond to whoever said that and say they're speaking from a place of privilege,
Yeah.
right? So check your privilege. But just economically, if you want to just talk about that, so we have a we have the gender pay gap, right? So white women make about, 85 cents to 80 cents for every dollar a white man earns. And then our African American sisters make about 65 to 75% for every dollar a white European immigrant male earns, right? Well, we have our indigenous sisters at the lowest, okay? The lowest of this figure. They make an average of 44 cents for every dollar that a European immigrant male earns. So yes, folks are still oppressed. Now, if you come from wealth or you come from money or a form of elitist framework, then sure, it doesn't impact you regardless of your skin color. That's your privilege. Now, for women to continuously endure this, though, this becomes generational violence, it becomes systematic violence, it becomes economic violence, and it creates a cycle of abuse. And so, yes, that's still happening now. We still see family separation happening. So, yes, that's still a form of oppression. We still see women, not only in the detention centers, but also women that are incarcerated in the prison industrial complex being sterilized, right? So yes, that is a form of oppression. So there are multiple forms of oppression. And then even going back to our school system, we do not have equal representation. So we don't read about ourselves in the books. We're not taught by people who look like us, right? So yes, there are still forms of oppression going on and still inequities, but that's how this system was designed. And it's going to stay like that until this system is completely broken down and rebuilt. And I am a fan of indigenous sovereignty. So I know you brought up about folks migrating in. Should there be some type of checks and balance? Yeah. And you know who should be vetting that? The indigenous folks. So whoever's homelands you are on, those relatives should have a say of what goes on in their homelands and who is visiting their homelands. And I feel that should just be how it is nationally, right? But folks don't want to compromise their privilege. Once again, it's one of those things. But if you want to talk about like legality, the highest statute of the law, we should be adhering to treaty law, and indigenous nations should be governing over their own homelands. That I feel would kind of remedy a lot of the violence that we do see in our communities.
So if you had a magic wand, you'd give the North America back to the indigenous people.
If I had a magic wand, I would give common sense to the entire United States. But yes, the indigenous folks of this land should be governing their own homelands, period.
I appreciate that answer. I don't know if I want to give you some time. Did you want to comment on that, Anthony? And we are done, you guys. As far as it's someone commented and said if you're talking about oppression, and that's a victim mentality. Do you want to answer that? I know Hermana Tina Marie went in, and do you want to say anything about that?
Like I said, I figured what she said. It's just a privilege thing of saying, because they must not have felt it. That's like the saying goes: if you have an experience, you don't know what it is. But they probably did experience it, but they just choose to ignore it a lot of times, or accept it. That's in my opinion. But anyways, I'm sorry I have to let you go. I got less than 6 hours of sleep. I have to wake up early for work. It's already past close to 10:30 p.m. over here in Chicago.
I appreciate your time. Gracias, hermano Anthony. Gracias, hermana Tina Marie. You guys live on Chicano Tube, live on Chicano Street. I appreciate you guys. The Berets are here, well represented. Gracias. It was a great conversation, you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.
Órale. Que viva la causa. Take care.
Take care. All right, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and read off some comments. I know a lot of the comments didn't get read off. It was a great conversation, but I want to go back maybe and see something here. Here's Norby's right here. Breaking it down would be a waste of time. Use the system is much better and faster. Oh, I see what you're saying. What can we do? Yeah. Again, it's a two-party system. If I know last time I asked Norby's was who you're voting for. Wow, no one. Well, that's not really going to do anything también, and neither is being on the sidelines going to do anything. It is a two-party system. Like Anthony said, you're going to pick the lesser of the two evils. Big Tone, right after the first debate, he posted Big Tone on IG, pinchy Big Tone. He posted, I missed the debate. Who lied the most? I don't know. Let me go back. All right, that's right. What's up, Nino America? That's right, my boy. I appreciate you, cabron. That's right. Screen is white privilege. You're talking about white privilege. It was a great conversation. Gracias for coming and speaking to our people, the Brown Beret. That's right. Ron Garcia giving his shouts out to the Brown Berets on their way out. You guys, I'll drop the links at the bottom. Send me any links. If Anthony or Hermana Tina, you guys want to send me any links to put at the bottom of the video. Maybe you have an IG. Maybe you have your own YouTube page. I forgot to ask you while on the live, but I'll ask you now as I wrap up. Send me the links over. I'll give the phone number 831-204-6977. 831-204-6977. I'm not dropping the number that you guys can call in, you guys. Tomorrow, I have the privilege of interviewing co-founder Carlos Montes. I'm going to do that one pre-recorded and drop that one at night. And then Friday night, we got the first presser to kick off Thanksgiving Fight Night, Paradigm Media News versus Mile High Hustle. It's a great conversation. I got to go back and watch this because a lot of stuff was said. You guys, if you're listening live or you're listening on the replay, you can still do the same thing. To everyone that's listening podcast style, is comment below, hit the like button, and let me know your thoughts. This is up. Live with the Brown Berets is a wrap. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to hit that like on your way out. But remember what I always say, mi beautiful linda raza. Remember what I always say. In the end, all you got is the memories.